Hi, I'm Linda Reimer, one of the librarians at the Southeast Bend County Library. Welcome to Library Connections, our weekly readers, listeners, and viewers advisory video cast. Enjoy. Library Connections number 29, hosted by SSCL librarian Linda Reimer. This video cast is being recorded on Thursday, November 12th, 2020. And before I jump into the video cast, let me just give you an update on the sound. I've been working on getting the sound at the volume level up for the podcast. I have a brand new microphone, a Shure microphone I'm using, and I'm going to have assistance from my library coworker, Robin, who's going to help me adjust hardware issues early next week. So the sound should be a little better for this week's video cast and even better for next week's. Having said that, let's jump into the New York Times bestsellers for this week. Our top 5 bestsellers start off with the new Janet Evanovich book, The Fortune and the Glory. It's the 27th book in the Stephanie Plum series. Stephanie deals with a soldier of fortune from Little Havana. At number 2, A Time for Mercy by John Grisham, the 3rd book in the Jake Brigand series. A 16-year-old is accused of killing a deputy in Clanton, Mississippi in 1990. At number 3, The Sentinel by Lee Child and Andrew Child. Jack Reacher intervenes on an ambush in Tennessee and uncovers a conspiracy. At number 4, The Return by Nicholas Sparks. A doctor serving in the Navy in Afghanistan goes back to North Carolina, where 2 women change his life. And at number 5, The Evening and the Morning by Ken Follett. In a prequel to The Pillars of the Earth, a boat builder, a Norman noblewoman, and a monk live in England under attack by the Welsh and the Vikings. And moving on to our nonfiction top 5 for the week. At number 1, Clanlands by Sam Heughan and Graham McTavish. The stars of Outlander use various means of travel to explore Scotland. At number 2, Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey. The Academy Award-winning actor shares snippets from the diaries he's kept over the last 35 years. At number 3, The Best of Me by David Sedaris. A collection of the humorist's essays, including Me Talk Pretty One Day and A Guy Walks into a Bar Car. At number 4, Caste by Isabel Wilkerson. The Pulitzer Prize-winning journalist examines aspects of caste systems across civilizations and reveals a rigid hierarchy in America today. And at number 5, Shade by Pete Souza. The former White House photographer juxtaposes pictures of former President Obama with tweets, headlines, and quotes from the Trump administration. Jumping right in with our first recommended read, it's called The Lady Brewer of London, a novel by Karen Brooks. An unforgettable historical tale set in 15th century England of a brilliant woman's defiance, courage, and ingenuity, from the author of The Locksmith's Daughter and The Chocolate Maker's Wife. Set in 1405, the daughter of a wealthy merchant, Annette Sheldrake, suddenly finds her family bankrupted when her father's ship is swept away at sea. Forced to find a way to provide for herself and her siblings, Annette rejects an offer of marriage from a despised cousin and instead turns to her late mother's family business, brewing ale. Armed with her mother's recipes, she then makes a bold deal with her father's aristocratic employer, putting her home and family at risk. Thanks to her fierce determination, Annek's brew wins a following and begins to turn a profit. But her rise threatens some in her community, and those closest to her are left to pay the price. As Annek slowly pieces her life together again, she finds an unlikely ally in a London brothel owner. Determined not only to reclaim her livelihood and her family, Annek vows not to let anyone stand in the way of her forging her very own destiny. And that one sounds super inspiring. Our second recommended read for this week is also historical fiction. I seem to be on a kick this week. It's called Miss Benson's Beetle, a novel by Rachel Joyce. In 1914, Marjorie Benson is introduced to the mythical golden beetle of New Caledonia at the age of 10. Her family is almost immediately deeply devastated by World War I, and Marjorie shelves her dream of finding the beetle until 1950. In her middle age, she realizes that her life is not what she wants it to be, and she wants to prove to the world that the golden insect does in fact exist. She just has to make her way to New Caledonia, an island in the South Pacific, pay for an expedition, and hire an assistant to help her find, mount, and describe the beetle to entomologists back in England. No small task, all of that. To do so, she engages the services of Enid Petty, the least likely assistant to an entomologist to ever be found, a brassy young woman with troubles of her own. Verdict: Joyce has written a delightful book filled with for whom characters readers will root. Marjorie finds herself again after being buried by family and work troubles, and Enid finds a friend and completes her own dream while in the wilderness of New Caledonia. Sure to be a hit with book clubs, and that is the Publisher's Weekly Review. Moving along to our first audiobook recommendation for this week, it's The Fortune and the Glory, a novel written by Janet Ivanovich and read by Lorelei King. Lorelei King is back, narrating the latest in the Stephanie Plum series. For the first time, the audiobook is deemed a novel, with no installment number in its subtitle, although for the record, this is the 27th book in the series. But having said that, not much has changed in the bounty hunter's world. Fans will find it comforting to revisit Stephanie, Lulu, Morelli, Ranger, Grandma Mazur, Connie, and Stephanie's mother, all masterfully performed by King, who creates a unique voice for each character. And yes, as you would expect from a Stephanie Plum novel, Stephanie explodes cars and Lulu explodes out of her spandex clothes while they're on their treasure hunting mission. So that is business as usual. What is new is a brand new character, Gabrielle Rose, a fashion-conscious female Indiana Jones, who will be featured in a brand new series. King's pacing, accents, intonation, and ability to convincingly perform men and women, good guys and bad, keep this series entertaining. And that is the audiophile review. That sounds really, really good. I usually read books as compared to listening to audios, but I might have to listen to that one. Moving along to our second audiobook recommendation for this week. This one's nonfiction. It's called Nobody Ever Asked Me About the Girls Women, Music, and Fame, written and read by Lisa Robinson. An intimate look at the lives of our most famous and celebrated female musicians and their challenges with fame from a legendary music journalist. Over 4 decades, Lisa Robinson has made a name for herself as a celebrated journalist in a business long known for its boys' club mentality. But to Robinson, the female performers who sat down with her, most often at the peak of their careers, were the true revelations. Based on conversations with more than 40 female artists, Nobody Ever Asked Me About the Girls is a behind-the-scenes glimpse into the effects of success on some of music's most famous women. From Tina Turner, Joni Mitchell, Stevie Nicks, Donna Summer, Bette Midler, Alanis Morissette, and Linda Ronstadt, to Mary J. Blige, Lady Gaga, Jennifer Lopez, Adele, Beyoncé, Rihanna, and numerous others, Robinson reveals the private obsessions and public distractions that musicians contend with in their pursuit of stardom. From these interviews emerge candid portraits of how these women, regardless of genre or decade, deal with image, abuse, love, motherhood, family, sex, drugs, business, and age, complete with reflections from Robinson's own career as a pioneering female music writer. Nobody Ever Asked Me About the Girls offers an overdue consideration of how hopes, dreams, and the drive for recognition have propelled our most beloved female musicians to take the stage and leave an undeniable, lasting musical mark on the world. And that sounds like a great book to read or listen to, but wow, it's got a long title. Nobody Ever Asked Me About the Girls. Try saying that 10 times fast. Moving on to our streaming video recommendations for this week. My first recommendation is the TV series Alex Rider, available from IMDb. And on a watcher's note, you can access the TV series through the IMDb website by downloading the IMDb app to your mobile device or smart TV, or through the Amazon or Apple video stores. The long-running YA spy novel series gets a TV adaptation as the long-running movie credits info site stretches its own content wings. Otto Ferrant stars as Alex, a master of teenage espionage, balancing the challenges of school and combating a sinister global conspiracy ring. The entire season, based on the second book in the James Patterson series, is available now. Moving on to our second streaming recommendation for this week, it's the 4th season of The Crown, available on Sunday, November 15th from Netflix. If you're not familiar with it, The Crown tells the story of Queen Elizabeth II and the royal family, starting with the Queen's wedding to Prince Philip in 1947 and moving forward to the present day. The 4th season covers the years 1977 to 1990, years during which Margaret Thatcher became Prime Minister, Prince Philip's uncle, Lord Mountbatten, was assassinated, Prince Charles courted and married Lady Diana Spencer, and Princes William and Harry made their debuts. So it's safe to say a lot is going to go on in Season 4 of The Crown. And our final streaming recommendation for this week is called Secrets of the Saqqara Tomb. It too is available from Netflix. The secrets here are in fact well known, having made headline news across the world in 2019. The discovery in the Saqqara necropolis, just outside Cairo, of scores of mummified animals, including a lion cub, and an untouched tomb from the 25th century BC. But what makes this an exceptional documentary is the focus on the entirely Egyptian archaeological team doing their bit in a quiet way to decolonize Egyptology and to demonstrate the emotional connection between the locals and the ancient civilization they are unearthing. In truth, excavating the pharaonic monuments has always been a multinational affair, with dig teams from all over the world pitching in. But the dominant images of British chaps in pith helmets, or the Indiana Jones-style maverick, are hard to dispel. This film's aim, apart from simple wonderment at what the excavators find, is to assert Egyptian ownership of the country's heritage and history. And it does it really rather well, if you filter out the somewhat superfluous race against time narrative that has been added over the top. Much more effective are the meditative interviews the filmmakers conduct across the whole team, from the excavation director to the anthropologist working on skeletal reassembly to the digger's foreman. Another tiny gripe: the interviewees are introduced only by their first names, a slightly patronizing move, which means it takes some disentangling to find out that they are in fact world experts in their fields. The film's richly colored photography, precisely defined sense of topography, and nicely conceived illustrations combine seamlessly to make clear what could be a confusing welter of information from two parallel digs. The finds are extraordinary, and the commentaries on them by the participants are equally wonderful. This is fascinating stuff, smoothly put together and carrying genuine human interest. And that is the Guardian review of the documentary. I have seen this one. It is wonderful. If you like the British Archaeology series Time Team, you'll like this. If by any chance you haven't seen the British Archaeology TV series Time Team, that too is excellent, and I urge you to check it out. And finally, our Hoopla recommendation for this week. It's the audiobook version of The Queen's Gambit, written by Walter Tevis, and the basis for the current and popular Netflix movie of the same name, The Queen's Gambit. And let me tell you a little about the plot. Engaging and fast-paced, this gripping coming-of-age novel of chess, feminism, and addiction speeds to a conclusion as elegant and satisfying as a mate in four. 8-year-old orphan Beth Harmon is quiet, sullen, and by all appearances, unremarkable. That is, until she plays her first game of chess. Her senses grow sharper, her thinking clearer, and for the first time in her life, she feels herself fully in control. By the age of 16, she's competing for the U.S. Open Championship. But as Beth hones her skills on the professional circuit, the stakes get higher, her isolation grows more frightening, and the thought of escape becomes all the more tempting. So this is a cool adventure of a different sort than your, say, Indiana Jones adventures, but a solid adventure nonetheless. And on to our Odd Duck recommendation of the week. This week I'm going to talk about another library program that you can access through Facebook. It's a Facebook Live program, Weekly Recipe with Michelle Wells, and it comes up on the library's Facebook page at 11 a.m. on Sundays. And what you see on the screen in front of you here are two screenshots from my phone, which gives you an idea of what it looks like on a mobile device. The left side has a pretty picture and tells you the time, and then the right side gives you the details. It says, every Sunday morning, Adult Services librarian and author Michelle Wells will upload a new recipe she has tried with her family. The recipes will post to her writer's blog, lorajohnson.wordpress.com. And if you're wondering who Melora Johnson is, that's Michelle's pen name, her pseudonym, in other words. So, this is what it looks like on a phone or mobile device. If we actually go to the lorajohnson.wordpress.com site, we have lovely pictures with delicious looking food. I mean, I love to eat. I don't care anything for cooking. I've always said if I ever won the lottery, the first thing I do is hire a cook. That's still true. But delicious looking food here. And she's got 2 recipes for the free price of 1, if you will, in that she talks about mincemeat and pumpkin butter macaroons with the recipe for last week. So if you scroll down the page a little bit, you get the actual instructions for both of these delicious recipes. And anything, as you probably know, any text that's a different color, homemade mincemeat recipe for filling, for example, where it says Beth's Foolproof Macaroons, those are links which will, of course, if you click on them or tap on them on a mobile device, they will take you to the page that gives you information on Beth's Foolproof Macaroons. Yeah, that'd be what I'd need. But of course you can't click on the link or tap on the link in a video, so you'll have to check out the lorajohnson.wordpress.com site for her delicious recipes and clear directions on how to make some wonderful food for the cooler weather here. Boy, those macaroons look good. I'll have to buy some, I guess, since I'm not going to cook some. But if you're a cook, try out some of Michelle's recipes at lorajohnson.wordpress.com or on Facebook Live Sundays at 11. And that's our Odd Duck of the Week. Have questions about this weekly videocast? Let me know. Send an email to me at reimerl@stls.org and I'll get back to you. Again, that's reimerl@stls.org and I'll get back to you. Well, of course, you can always call the library as well. Just a reminder, the library has reopened at our home building, located at 300 Civic Center Plaza in Corning, New York. Our current hours are Mondays and Fridays, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., Tuesdays and Thursdays, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m., and Saturdays, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And that is the end of the new Library Connections content for this week. What follows are a few informational tidbits. The tidbits include directions as to how to access the library's website, catalogs, blogs, and social media pages. Links to articles used to create this week's videocast, otherwise known as references, and the library's contact information. Here we see the library's website, appointments page, and StarCat, and I'm going to talk about each briefly, going clockwise from the top left-hand corner. The library's website is found at ssclibrary.org. Once there, you can access our catalogs, the web version, of course. There are companion apps. You can click on the calendar of events to find out what events are being done, both online and the few in person at the moment, and just find a whole host of information about the library. On the top right-hand corner of your screen, you see the Schedule a Curbside Appointment and Computer Appointment page, found at ssclibrary.org/making-appointments/. You can also call the library if you'd like to make a curbside appointment or a computer appointment. Now you can drop into the library and use a computer if you like. There is a 1-hour time limit. But if you want to make sure that there's a computer available because of social distancing guidelines, we don't have as many computers available as we would have had in the pre-pandemic era. So if you want to make sure that there's a computer available, you might want to make an appointment. And on the bottom portion of the page, you see a photo of StarCat, the catalog of physical library materials, which includes print books, DVDs, basically anything you can hold in your hand. That's found at starcat.stls.org. And again, you can always call the library if you prefer the additional route, and I'll give the library's phone number a little later in this video cast. The digital catalog and the companion apps for the catalog, Libby and Overdrive. On the left side of your screen, you see the digital catalog homepage found online at stls.overdrive.com because, yes, indeed, you can download content to a computer if you'd like to. You can also download content to a mobile device, and there are two apps for that, Libby, that you see it right, and Overdrive. Libby you would use for newer devices. Overdrive is for older devices and Kindle tablets. Now, if you have an e-reader, I'm going to assume most people nowadays have a traditional black and gray screen e-ink Kindle e-reader and not a Nook e-reader or a different brand. But if you have an e-reader, just know that you can get eBooks from the digital catalog onto your e-reader. You can ask the staff. It's fairly simple if you have a Kindle Paperwhite or some type of Kindle e-reader. If it's a different kind of e-reader, the traditional e-readers, and it seems so funny to say traditional when you're talking about e-readers because it's not super ancient technology. But if you have something other than a Kindle e-reader, it's a longer process, but can still be done with newer devices. Call the library for details. And Hoopla. Hoopla is a brand new service being offered to Southeast Steuben County library card holders. Through Hoopla, you can get ebooks, comic books, downloadable audiobooks, and streaming videos, all available for instant checkout, otherwise known as on-demand checkout. You can download material to a computer if you like. Go to hoopladigital.com. Or you can download the Hoopla app, which you see on the right side of your screen, to your mobile device or your media streamer or smart TV. And just a little note to reiterate here, you do have to have a Corning, aka Southeast Steuben County Library card to check out materials through Hoopla. And that's because unlike the digital catalog and its companion apps Libby and Overdrive, that's a system-wide catalog. All libraries within the Southern Tier library system contribute to it, so it's paid for in essence by the libraries within the Southern Tier library system. Just our library is paying for the Hoopla material, so that's why it's available right now just for our card holders. So having said that, it's a really cool service. I urge you to check it out. It is what they call an instant checkout service. It's also a pay per circ service. Now that's fancy terminology that you might not be familiar with. What that means from a librarian side of the equation is that each time a patron checks out an item, our library has to pay for that checkout. So each checkout costs the library some money, and that's why you right now have a limit of 4 items per month you can check out from Hoopla. And that's probably more of an explanation than you wanted or needed. If you have questions about Hoopla, feel free to call the library or send me an email. The library blogs, full of fun content. And indeed they are. We have the Book Club for Adults blog, which there are usually 1 or 2, maximum 3 new posts per month on that blog, all relating to our monthly book club for adults. You know, information about the next meeting via Zoom right now, titles that we're reading, that sort of thing. Corning NY History is the local history blog. We feature new photos from our area, people, places, and things once a week. Creation Stationery is the library's makerspace blog for all things creative. Go to creationstationery.com. Story Musings is the library's blog hosted by our resident author and head of adult services, Michelle Wells, found at storymusings.blogspot.com. Tech and Book Talk is a blog found at SSCLtech.com. That one is one that I host, and it's more readers and viewers and listeners advisory tips, much like the videocast here that you're watching, with occasionally a how-to tech tip inserted for good measure. If you have questions about library services during the pandemic, or want to make an appointment for curbside pickup or to use a computer, you are welcome to go the traditional route and simply give us a call. The library's phone number is area code 607-936-3713. It's the phone number we've had for years, so if you have an old phone book at home, it's going to be in your phone book. And of course, you could also Google Corning Library, Corning NY Library probably, instead of Iowa. because there is a Corning, Iowa, and you'll get the phone number too. Social media, just a weekly reminder, you can connect with the library 24/7, read library news, and pose questions via social media. The library has pages on Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and Instagram. In relation, each video in this series is available on demand via the library's YouTube channel after it has first been shown on Facebook Live. And here's our quick list of our references for this week. And that's the program for this week. I'll be back next week with another edition of Library Connections. And just a reminder, the library is now open again at our Civic Center Plaza location. We have hours on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. So drop in and see us.